Norseman Live is brought to you by Isklar, Intersport, Windforce, Bundegruppen, and Renault.
Good morning and welcome to Norseman Live. My name is Helen Webster and I'm here reporting live from the shores of Eidfjord, where we're seeing some amazing scenes as the swimmers come out of the water thick and fast here at this year's running of one of the world's most extreme triathlons. So just a quick heads up on what's happening today. So these athletes would have boarded a ferry at 4 a.m. this morning. They'd have gone 3.8 kilometres out into the beautiful waters of the Eidfjord here in Norway. From there, they would have jumped into these crystal clear, beautiful waters before starting this swim 3.8 kilometres back to meet us here in Eidfjord. So the guys that you can see coming out of the water at the moment, they've been swimming for roughly an hour now. So these are some of the fastest of the main field here at Norseman today. So in terms of our coverage, what we're going to be doing, we've already done kind of a live broadcast from the ferry early this morning. So those of you that were up super early today would have seen my colleague Philip O'Connor talking to you from the ferry. So now we're going to look a little bit of kind of the recap from the day in a moment, but we're also going to kind of talk a little bit about what we're seeing behind us here as the athletes come out of the water and run up to their bikes in T1, which is triathlon speak for transition 1. We're going to then kind of later on in the day, we're going to go to other parts of the course and we're going to bring you all the action as it unfolds for this race. So you can expect 6 different episodes today from us and you'll find obviously all the information at live.nxtri.com. But for now, we're here at this swim exit, and certainly some of these scenes we're seeing here are just amazing. So we've got athletes coming thick and fast out of the water. These guys have been in the water for roughly an hour. We've got crowds kind of lining the rocks here. We've got kind of fans, we've got support crews. All the guys you see in the white vests here are supporting the athletes that are racing today. And the atmosphere is just amazing. I've got to say, from being up at kind of 2-3 o'clock this morning, and everything was kind of quite hushed and everyone was quite nervous at those kind of really early times in the morning to now everyone is just kind of out cheering, like screaming, kind of like supporting their athletes, making sure that they're having, you know, as great a kind of support as they can as they come out of the water. So in terms of the swim, we've seen some really quick times already this morning. So the first athlete out of the... There's a guy there just like, yes! I'm so happy. Our first athlete out of the water was Great Britain's Mark Threlfall. I don't have the exact time standing here on the shoreline, but it was around 46-47 minutes. That's a really, really quick time for Norseman. So we're going to check and kind of find out for you, but that may well be a swim record. We're not sure yet, but a super fast time. So Britain's Mark Threlfall, first out of the water. Third out of the water was Alan Hovde, who was last year's winner. Now, Alan has won this race 3 times, but he doesn't quite have the world record yet. So I think Alan is going to be kind of really gunning for maybe taking that world record this year, as well as obviously his 4th Northman title. So yeah, Alan Hovde, third out the swim. Now Alan's a Norwegian. He trains in these mountains all the time. He's a super tough guy. He knows his course inside out, and it'll be really interesting to see how his race progresses. Just a quick recap on the swim hats. So all the guys you see coming out of the water here have yellow swim hats on, and that means that they are part of the kind of the main Norseman field. In the recap in about 10 minutes or so, you're going to see people racing in green swim hats as well. Now, the green swim hats actually there's a couple of green hats coming in here now, you can see, just 1 or 2 coming through the field. Now, this year is the first year that we're seeing the Norseman the X-Tri World Championships, which is the first time they've had a pro field at this race. So around 42 athletes this morning went off 5 minutes before the main field. Now they would all have qualified at previous Norseman World Series races or at Norseman last year. So the guys in the green caps, and you can see a couple coming out here still, probably the last of the pro field now, they are among the best athletes in the Norseman world. So it's a really exciting year for Norseman having that happen here. So yeah, the green hats would have come out mainly in around kind of 50 minutes to an hour, but the last few of those coming out. And the yellow hats you see here are the main field. So these are the kind of 250 athletes that have entered the ballot, been lucky enough to get a place and to be here at Norseman 2019. So you see one of the last green hats coming out there. Now, interestingly, we did see one of the main field in a yellow hat, Professor Greg White, come through really quickly this morning, and he overtook a lot of the pro field, and you'll see from scenes from that in a little while. But yeah, Professor Greg White, also from the UK, he did the swim in, we think, about 47 minutes. And yeah, he overtook a lot of the pros this morning, which is absolutely amazing to see. But for now, just watching these guys coming out of the swim and, you know, some really happy faces. A lot of people get a bit nervous about the swim here at Norseman. You know, it's an early start. Your body clock's all out of sync. You know, you're getting on that ferry at 4 in the morning. You've had a really early breakfast. You've been up and kind of put your bike in transition, and, you know, everything feels a little bit out of whack. So, you know, they do get nervous about getting on this ferry and jumping off that ferry 4 metres into the waters here at Fjord. But the conditions here have been really good actually this year. We've had a really hot week here in Eidfjord. Water temperatures maybe 16, 17 degrees, which is quite unusual for Norsemen. I mean, people come to this race because it's extreme. They come here expecting freezing cold weather, freezing cold waters. But, you know, this year has been really nice, like 16, 17 degrees in the water. That's not going to feel warm. It's not like your swimming pools at home. But, you know, it's warm enough for these athletes that with a good wetsuit, a wetsuit that fits correctly, maybe a neoprene balaclava if they feel the cold. You're allowed to wear neoprene socks in Norseman, which are not in a normal triathlon. So, you know, if they've got the right kit on, they're not going to be feeling the cold too much this morning, hopefully. So, you know, certainly we're seeing a lot of athletes coming out of the water, like these guys we're sending you pictures of here, and they're not wearing too many of the neoprene accessories. Like this, oh, guy there going the wrong way, so crashing into our cameraman. But, you know, we're not seeing them wearing all of the kind of cold water gear. I mean, these temperatures feel pretty nice for Norsemen anyway. I swam here yesterday and the water is actually beautiful. It's, yeah, it's very, very clear. I mean, you can see everything perfectly in the water. Like we said, it's not too cold this year. It has a slightly kind of brackish, salty taste, which is unusual, but it's not unpleasant. And I think for the athletes here, they're just really glad to be getting the first chunk over. They're going to get on their bike, take on some nutrition, relax into the race a little bit, and know that they're on their way to Toppen, hopefully for that black t-shirt, or Blick if they're one of the, after the first 160 main field athletes to finish. Now, the lady you can see down there in the yellow vest, that's Taril, and she's our race director. So she's helping the people out of the water and just making sure they can find their land legs. Now, the swim here, it's 3.8 kilometres. I mean, that's a typical Ironman distance swim, but it's quite a long swim. These guys have been in the water now for 1 hour and 7 minutes, and after that long swimming, your body kind of gets a little bit out of sync, and you know your blood's all gone to the wrong parts of your body. So it's about kind of helping these guys stand up, get the blood back to their feet, and help them kind of like run up to transition. It's actually really slippy in transition today. There's a kind of grassy run round the bikes, and we've seen quite a few people falling over as they come into transition. So let's just walk up there now and take a quick look at everyone as they get on their bikes, and I'll try not to fall over. Try really hard not to fall over anyway. But yeah, what we're seeing now is a lot of the main field coming through. So if we just pop up here, there's a little kind of track we can follow, and we'll start to see some of these athletes as they go and get on their bikes. Now, transition, I mean, in triathlon, transition is so important because, you know, if you get it right, not only can you save a lot of time, but you'll have a much less stressful race experience. So it's about getting out the water, getting the wetsuit off as quickly as you can, getting into your bike kit, and many athletes here will change to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. So they'll either have a tri-suit on or they'll be changing into bike kit. Helmet on, really important. You've got to have your helmet on before you touch your bike. That's a rule in triathlon. Get the bike shoes on, get some nutrition down, and get out onto the bike course. We just wait for a little gap and we'll sneak through here. So yeah, we see these athletes come around the corner and all their bikes are racked here with all the kit they need for the bike leg. The bikes you see here are mainly triathlon bikes. Now, triathlon bikes are designed to be as aerodynamic as possible, as fast as possible. So you'll see they're made out of carbon fibre usually. They're very lightweight. They're designed to be as aerodynamic as possible. And they have tri-bars fitted, which puts the athlete onto quite a low position. So they're going to be really low down, as aerodynamic as possible as they kind of go up and down the really quite high hills here in Norway. I think this course has something like 3,000 metres of climbing on the bike alone. So it's a lot of elevation. So as light as your bike can be, the better. But for now, we're just seeing these athletes and they're kind of drying off. They're getting their kit ready. They're kind of like, get everything sorted out for this bike leg, which is 180 kilometres. A guy here, and he's actually got a neoprene neck guard on, and that's designed to stop his wetsuit chafing his neck, just give you that extra little bit of comfort. And on a distance as long as Norseman, they're out there for 226 kilometres. Every little irritation becomes a really big problem. So if you've got a little bit of wetsuit rash or a little wetsuit rub on your neck, that's going to really get to you after, kind of maybe 12, 15 hours of racing. So, people just kind of pulling their wetsuits off, getting their kit ready. The atmosphere is a little bit frenetic here. Everyone's kind of making sure they've got what they need. And the support crew as well. We have lots of support crew here in transition. Now, in Norseman, you're allowed a support crew. And as the footage goes on today, you'll see those in the white bibs. And their job is to make sure the athlete is as kind of well-fed, as well-watered, they've got all their kit, and that they've got everything they need for the race. So we're just going to head down here a little bit. See what else we can see. We're trying not to get in an athlete's way because it's really important they have as smooth and stress-free an experience as possible. But we see a guy here just kind of taking his wetsuit off, and he's got his support crew with him. This is interesting, actually. They're getting the lights working on some of the bikes as well. Now, Norseman, you have essential kit which you wouldn't usually see in triathlon. But at Norseman, you have to have extra things because this course is so extreme. So these bikes all have to have lights. So you have to have front and back lights on your bike, 100 lumens minimum. And that's because of the quite dangerous terrain in some parts of the course in terms of it can be misty, it can be dark, you're going through tunnels a lot of the time, so you absolutely have to have lights on your bike. So it's people here making sure their lights are working, making sure their lights are on, all those little things. You need to get those ready before you leave transition, because if you don't, it means you've got to stop and sort things out later on in the course, which nobody wants. They just want to be able to focus on racing, being as fast as possible. Just dodging out of the way of a bike here. And support crew as well. Everyone's smiling though, which is great. I think there is that relief when you kind of get the bike done. And you can see everyone's cycling away now. So in triathlon, you're not allowed to just jump on your bike as soon as you get to the transition. You can't just, leap on and go. They have quite strict rules about when you're allowed to get on your bike. So there will always be a mount line just outside of transition. So you'll wheel your bike out of there as quickly as you can and then jump on the bike, either kind of carefully, or a lot of the pros will do a kind of flying mount onto the bike and have their shoes already attached to the pedals. But that's for safety. We can't have athletes riding their bikes around transition when other people are kind of getting changed and getting ready to go. So it's for safety, and you can see the mount line there, and everyone kind of, doing some last minute checks of the bike, just turning the lights on by the looks of it. And then as soon as they get to this kind of paved portion, then they can ride away and start the 180 kilometre bike leg. Now, a lot of people watching will have done an Ironman, and anyone that's completed an Ironman is just an amazing athlete. I mean, in my book, I haven't completed a full Ironman yet, but, it's an amazing distance to do. But here at Norseman, the course here is something else. So these athletes now, they're going out to do 180 kilometres of cycling. And as we said, around 3,000 metres of elevation. I don't know what that is in feet. I wouldn't want to try and work it out, to be honest with you. But it's a lot of climbing. And actually, if you join us a bit later on at 8:30 a.m, my colleague Philip will be at a place called Triathlon, which I've pronounced very badly. But that's one of the highest points on the bike course. And by then, they will have done something like 800 metres of climbing, 1,800 metres of climbing just to get there. So 1,200. I'm being corrected by amazing cameraman Robin, who knows all the facts. So join Philip at 8:30 this morning, a bit later on, and he'll show you kind of bit more detail on the bike course. But for now, we're seeing some of these amazing bikes coming through. And like we said, these bikes designed to be as aero as possible. Actually, the white bike here, the Specialised, and the red one you see. Okay, so I've heard that we have a recap ready to go. So we're going to show you all the action from earlier this morning, and I'll be back here in about 20 minutes. Let's go with the recap.
Good morning and welcome to the Norseman, the most extreme triathlon on the face of the earth. My name is Philip O'Connor, and this year there's no studio, there's no second takes, there's no safety net. We're bringing you the race from right in the middle of it. Right now we're on the boat here in Eidfjord on the ferry with the rest of the participants. Today there are 240 of them, plus 42 athletes taking part in the X-Tri World Championship. We'll get to all that. We've plenty of time throughout the day. There'll be 6 or 7 different programs. I think it's 6 programs in total that we're bringing you, and we're starting here on the boat this morning. It is 4:35 local time. Now we're having an announcement from up above, but just after 4 o'clock this morning we got onto this boat. It left the harbour in Eidfjord. We've now sailed out about a little over 3 kilometres to the starting point here, and right behind us, if we walk over here, we can see what's going on. Okay, immediately what you're going to see over here is that we have some green caps and we have some yellow caps. This year the green caps are the people taking part in the X-Tri World Championship, and the yellow cap are what we call the normal Norsemen. But this is no normal race. This is the race that we describe as being not for you. And if you're watching us live on YouTube or on Facebook, you'll know that already, but maybe it will be for you next year if you follow us throughout the day. Let's go and have a little look over here, because they're just about to open up and get and start getting people into the water. So you can see the green caps over here. Plenty of windmilling of arms to get started here, to get warmed up. So we have the line right here. We have our stewards holding the line here. Ahead of this line are our professional triathletes, right? They're going to go in the water first, and their race will start about 5 minutes before everybody else. After that, the 240 regular Norseman athletes, and let's remember, there's no such thing as a regular Norseman athlete, they will go in the water. So about 10 minutes after that, the race itself gets underway. It's 220 kilometres long. There's 3 kilometres of swimming, there's 180 kilometres of bike riding, and then there's a marathon at the end of it. But the hardest part of this race can actually be the 4 meters from here down into the water, because if you can't make that, there's going to be no race at all. We have a lot of people on this boat here this morning. There's a lot of cameras on the boat. There's the energy and the electricity on this boat. I've been told about it before. If you watched this race before, you'll remember that I've normally been sitting in the studio and doing this introduction, but right now we're in the heart of the race. People have told me in the past about the energy and the electricity that is in this, you couldn't call it a room, but on this deck at this hour of the morning, and it's absolutely incredible. This is the last chance that most people will have to talk to somebody before the start of the race. So they're all getting ready, they're warming up, they're helping each other to zip up their wetsuit. There's a smell of tiger balm and liniment in the air as they try to keep their muscles warm. We've been watching them getting their swim caps on and their goggles on and checking their timing chips and everything. As you can see, the athletes at the very front here are very, very, very focused. Some have their earplugs in. Some are having a little chat there and that kind of thing. Some are keeping to themselves. We've seen people meditating. We've seen some people saying a little prayer. It's an amazing setting here this morning. And one of the big differences between this year and previous years is the temperature, right? Previously we've talked about it in terms of cold water swimming and that kind of thing. I can tell you that when we measured the temperature before we got on the boat this morning, it was 16 degrees in the water, which is pretty good for Norseman. So I'm not going to say it's going to be comfortable. 16 degrees is still pretty tough. But as you can see, full body wetsuits on most of the competitors here behind me. Some of them wearing socks, not all of them wearing socks now. I know if I was getting in there, I'd want socks, I'd want shoes, I'd want the whole lot in there. But these are tough competitors that are going in there. So 16, 17 degrees, so the conditions are not going to be that tough. But if the weather stays like that, and if we get the weather forecast that we've been told to expect, it could be up to 25, 26 degrees in the later parts of the race, which are the cycling and the running. And that's going to make things very, very tough indeed. One of the things that we're going to be bringing to you throughout the day is the man who won last year is a man called Alan Hovda. And Alan was delighted with his performance last year, but he didn't break the world record, okay? He set out to break the world record, which is around about a little over 9 hours and 50 minutes, and he was disappointed not to do that last year. Now, we're putting it over to Alan today, and we're saying these are perfect conditions. If anything, just slightly too warm. The air's going to be very warm when they get out of the water, that kind of thing. So this is the day. We're going to be following his attempt to break the record a little bit later on. We'll go back down the boat just a little bit, because at the very back of the boat here, you can actually start to see, if we look down to the left here, Kella, there's some puddles beginning to form, and that's because we're spraying the athletes to get them acclimatized to the water there. There's a few people looking at me with their eyes wide open, their mouths wide open and that kind of thing, because they've already had a quick little spray of this water. And even if it is 15, 16, 17 degrees directly out of the fjord, still pretty chilly for this hour of the morning. There are a few people around on this boat that we want to talk to. I haven't seen any of them yet. We do want to give you the lowdown on the X-Tri World Championships. This is the first year of that, and we'll give you the lowdown on that as we come along. Now, this is where all the luggage goes, right? So everybody has a tag on their bag. They take off their bits and pieces. Here's competitor number 235. Their bag is right here. It's a special Norseman bag. They put all their belongings that they're not bringing with them out on the race into that bag, and they leave it here, and that will then be taken to the finish line, and they'll be reunited with that bag in about somewhere between 10 and 16 hours from now. Let's keep going and see if we can get a little bit more of the atmosphere down here. It's a little bit wet underfoot here now, so it's a couple of inches of water, or maybe a centimetre of water on the deck here. How was the water this morning?
It feels really good.
Was it a bit of a shock to the system when you stood under the hose for the first time?
Not today. I think we're in good shape today for the water temperature.
I'm going to guess that that's an American accent. Is it from somewhere on the West Coast?
Yeah, no, Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, okay. What's the water like around there? Are you expecting different conditions here from Indiana?
A lot warmer than here. Swimming without a wetsuit, all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I probably should have started with your name.
Bobby Granger.
Bobby Granger, you're very welcome to Norway, to Eidfjord and the Norseman Extreme Triathlon. What do you expect to get out of the day? What's the goal for the day, Bobby?
Goal, I think, is obviously the black t-shirt. I would love to get there, but at the end of the day, it's just to finish and call myself a Norseman. I got in on the first try, so I feel pretty lucky to be here, and I'm excited to get in the water, and I'll be more excited to get on the bike.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Bobby. Maybe we'll catch up with you a little bit out of the course later on. There you go. There is Bobby from Indiana. And if you're watching in Indiana, keep your eye out for Bobby during the day. We'll see if we can catch up with him along the course there. Now, if we go down to this side, we can see that the water is positively streaming here. And just up here, we have one of the fire hoses. And this is how tough these people are. There are people standing there with their arms over their heads. This is just to get acclimatized before they get in the water. Okay, we're going to go back up the top of the boat, because what's happening right now is that they are opening up at the edge of the boat. This means that we're about to start getting people into the water here, so we're going to make our way back here as quickly as possible to see the first athletes getting into the water. We'll be starting just before 5 o'clock local time is when we expect the race to get underway. So the athletes have got to get in there, and they've got to get themselves acclimatized. They've got to tread a little bit of water before it all goes down. We're making our way back up the boat here. We're going to duck in under the rope here if we can. We're going to go, like I say, this year we're going to be right in the heart of the action the whole time. There we go. There's Callie with the camera. Poor man has a job of following me around today. And at the front, of course, we have all manner of small cameras, all manner of GoPros. If we have a quick look out here at the fjord behind us, it's a very, very peaceful scene. So you can see the clouds there on the top of the mountain there, and just down below that string of lights that looks like a little bit like the bottom level of your Christmas tree. That is Eidfjord. That's about 3 kilometers away, and that is the first place that we are all headed for. We can have a look down here to the right hand side. We'll see some of the safety boats that are lined up. We have canoes out there, we have crewed boats, we have media boats there. The green vests will be guys from the media and girls from the media who are taking pictures from out there as well. And of course we have our cameras out there. There's a big knot of boats off there over towards the edge of the fjord as well. The canoeists will be in among the people who are taking part in this race to ensure their safety as they go along. So safety, of course, is absolutely paramount.
World Championship athletes, now we are ready to jump.
So there you go. That announcement was that the World Championship athletes are ready to jump. And they are ready. The focus on the faces here. There's some big smiles too. People know what awaits them. There could be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hours of action ready to go. And this truly is, the tension here is absolutely unbelievable. They're moving the flag out. The flag will be folded over the side, and I'm sure you'll see that now in our recap images a little bit later on. So safety marshals at the front of the boat. The red cones. There are, as far as I remember, there are 42 athletes who are taking part in the World Championship aspect of the race. We might walk. And there you go, the first of them into the water. There we go. We'll see if we can get a few of the splashes there. They're just going straight in. A couple of people pinching their nose here. They're going to be doing well to keep the water out of the nose for the next 50 or so minutes that it's going to take to get all the way. So this is our 42 odd World Championship athletes are swimming out to the front now, and they'll make sort of one phalanx at the front. They'll get all of them out the front, and they'll start about 5 minutes before everybody else. So the World Championship, these are all mostly professional athletes or people who compete professionally in triathlete. There's somebody who doesn't feel that professional now, but she's just about to get in now and show us what she's made of. There you go, off you go. The best of luck to you. There we go. And just the tiniest scream of panic there as the competitor just jumped into the water there. She was the last of the elite athletes, the 42 who are taking part in the X-Tri World Championship. She was the last one to make it in there, and I've found the man who's going to be able to explain all about the X-Tri World Championship to us. Stuart McGuinness, good morning to you.
Good morning, Phil. How are you?
I'm fantastic altogether. I need you to explain to the viewers at home, the first 42 athletes who jumped in there, they're taking part in the X-Tri World Championship, okay?
Right.
Can you explain in 5 words or less exactly what that means? Or, take as many as you want.
That means that they're competing for the World Championship of X-Tri, so they're competing on the Norseman course within the Norseman, but it's a separate race from the Norseman.
Brilliant.
So they've qualified through the other races, and they're racing for the title of X-Tri World Champion.
And in order to become X-Tri World Champion, it's not enough to win here today or to perform well here today, right? What else do they have to do?
Well, yes, they have to do that today in this race, in this World Championship race. That makes them the World Champion.
Well, that makes them the World Champion. Sorry.
Not these guys.
Not these guys here. There we go. And tell me, this is the first year of the X-Tri World Championship?
First year, yes, absolutely. This is the first year, which is the test year for the World Championship race. Absolutely.
And how has it been?
It's superb so far. Everybody's happy. They're all in there, so that's a good start.
Yeah, there was some. I was very surprised at how happy everybody was. Actually, and we can turn our camera around and see exactly how far out they swam. They're over there at the line, just at the edge of the fjord there. Stuart, when did you get to Eidfjord this year? Because you've been here a few times.
Just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how's it been so far?
It's been absolutely beautiful, although strangely warm.
Yeah, it has actually been incredibly warm, and that's something we're going to come back to throughout the day, because the temperatures are like 16, 17 degrees in the water.
And we're ready for everyone else.
Okay, Stuart, we'll let you go, and we'll see you a little bit later on.
Have a great day.
There you go. That is the captain of the boat wishing our Norseman athletes a great day. This is where it all begins. If you can't make these 4 meters down into the water, you're not going to make the other 220 there. Jeff from Boston.
It's all about the jump.
It's all about the jump right now, isn't it?
The jump now. You make it through this, I think we're okay.
I think you're going to be good today, Jeff. And I'm going to talk to you about the top and at the end of this,
Yes,
haven't I?
absolutely.
There you go. Enjoy your day, my friend, and the best of luck. We'll see you a little bit later on.
Hi there, this is Stuart McLeod. I'm going to try and explain some of the things we're seeing here today. There's beautiful scenes, as we can see, as everyone's jumping off the ferry into the beautiful Fjord. Just to recap then, there's a 3.8k swim. The temperatures here today are really nice, 16 degrees or so. You can see lots of the athletes in the water here. Usually in Norseman, the temperature is really cold. Today, much nicer temperatures. We can see a lot of the athletes are actually not maybe dressed up as much with neoprene booties and gloves. I think today's looking like we'll see some really fast swim times. The athletes obviously moving to the start. Just to reiterate, what we have today, we have the X-Tri World Championships 2019, and these are the athletes wearing the green caps. We also have the Norseman swim, the Norseman race, and these are the athletes that you can see wearing the yellow caps. The athletes jumping off the ferry, the iconic jump from the ferry, which is such an amazing, spectacular things to see. The athletes at this point, they will probably be feeling a bit excited. They'll obviously maybe be a bit nervous as well, because they're thinking about now it's a bit dark and just getting ready to get in and start the swim. I think at this point lots of the athletes will feel the pressure will start to lift, and they'll start to feel really that the race has started now and they need to just focus on swimming and biking and running. So the 3.8k swim here, the athletes will just be focusing into the distance. We can see Eidfjord, which is where the transition one will be. The athletes will be focused on swimming towards the fire. So the fire is near the turning point, and that's where the athletes will be stayed. They'll be focused on that in getting to transition one safely. All about pacing. It's all about turnover and just staying relaxed. We see that athletes obviously here will be wearing their wetsuits. It's mandatory that the athletes wear wetsuits, and that can help quite a lot with giving additional buoyancy. So what we'll see is actually some of the athletes actually swimming quite fast times here as well, given the fact that the conditions are nice as well. We can see athletes here from the main Norseman field jumping off the ferry and getting themselves in and getting themselves acclimatised and immersed in the water in the beautiful Hardanger Fjord. It's such an amazing, spectacular place to be. I can talk through experience having done the jump, having been in there before. It's such an amazing thing to do. If you ever get the opportunity to do this, you must try and do it. It's such an amazing thing. One thing that's important here in relation to the swim aspect, it's a really important component, but the race generally will not be won in the swim, but it could quite easily be lost in the swim. So I think most of the athletes will generally be quite focused on getting in the water and getting smooth and not spending too much effort and trying to get out of the swim as quickly as possible and safely. So a lot of the athletes will be now focused on getting into the transition point and just getting out and thinking about the day ahead. I think it's really, for some of the athletes, it'll be really quite intimidating as well. Some of the athletes that may be less experienced. For some of the more experienced athletes, well, they'll just be focused on rhythm and pacing. I think one of the other things that we'll find when the athletes line up, they'll be thinking about trying to find feet, which is really just following the athlete in front if they're quicker, which is drafting in the swim. That's really important, to find feet, which means you can swim with less effort, faster. It's really important for the athletes when they're in this situation to look at where they're going and to do sighting, so they're moving in the right direction towards Eidfjord, and just thinking about getting out the water and getting safely into transition one where they move on to the bike. So we're seeing some really nice images here of the ferry jump, the iconic ferry jump. And we can see some of the athletes from the Norseman race, the main field, getting ready to start. Now, just to recap, we have the X-Tri World Championships, the first inaugural World Championship race. That is taking part within the Norseman. So the Norseman is running as a separate race. So just to be clear there, the X-Tri World Championship race is the green caps, and the Norseman is the yellow caps. So we can see the last of the athletes getting into the water, and it's looking that the light's coming up. We're getting some really nice images from the ferry, and the conditions look incredible. I have the feeling there's going to be some pretty quick swim times today. I know we'll have lots of really strong swimmers in the field. It's probably worth mentioning a few. Mark Threfelt, who is ex-professional from the UK. He's an extremely fast swimmer. And I would imagine he would be close to the front of the field. And here we can see now the green caps. This is the X-Tri World Championship field. And this is them heading off now. We can see quite aggressive high turnover at the front of the field. I have a feeling that is probably Mark Threfelt leading out at the front. It's probably quite difficult to see from these images. We can also see a cluster of other athletes that are starting to move through the field. They're quite spread out, but what we'll probably see quite soon, we'll probably see them bunching together and trying to find feet. As I've said, they'll try and draft and come into a pack. But at the moment, we can see in the X-Tri World Championship field, the professional field, it's quite spread out. And we're now seeing images here of the Norseman field, the yellow caps. They're lining up. Now remember, the Norseman field are starting 5 minutes after the X-Tri World Championship field. They're going to be starting 5 minutes later. So they're lining up now, getting ready to start. These guys are probably in the water. They're just probably thinking about getting in position and focusing on their swim. They'll be in the water. Some of these athletes will be in the water anywhere from 50 minutes as much as 2 hours. There's a cut-off for the swim, which is 2 hours 15. That's a long time to be in the water. But I would imagine most of these athletes will exit the water a lot quicker than that for the 3.8k swim. So we're now just waiting on the start horn. Some beautiful images we're seeing from the Eidfjord. We can see that the light's coming up. It's a really intimidating and spectacular environment that these athletes are swimming in today. It's absolutely iconic seeing the ferry in the background and the athletes lining up to start the swim. And we're now back on the front of the field in the X-Tri World Championship field. We can see the guys are swimming quite close to the shoreline, which is the fastest line. We can see nice smooth turnover. A lot of really excellent swimmers here with really nice technique. We can see here there's quite a smooth technique and some quite aggressive turnover. Slightly different styles. And we're seeing an athlete off the front, which looks like it's Mark Threfeld off the front of the field. We're back with the main field, the Norseman main field, yellow caps. They're lining up, just getting ready to start. Again, 5 minutes behind the X-Tri World Championship field. So it's really important, again, to just go through what are these athletes thinking. So the athletes will be thinking about just feeling relaxed. They would want to be getting out of the water as quickly as possible. So they've got a 3.8k swim ahead. They want to be moving along, having nice sighting. We're back to the front of the X-Tri World Championships field. And we can see that that's the main pack. There's a lead swimmer off in front, but that's the lead pack. We can see that they're obviously moving closer to transition point. I think some of these athletes now will be focused on getting to transition, and they'll probably now be thinking of getting out the water, getting out their wetsuit as quickly and efficiently as possible, and thinking about just getting ready for their bike, maybe being hydrated as well, having some food maybe and a drink, as all these athletes will be approaching this slightly differently. We're seeing some nice close images here of the swimmers, nice turnover. A lot of these athletes are actually extremely good swimmers, and we can see that sometimes they may appear to be turning over a bit slow, but I guess this is towards the end and they're maybe just moving towards the kind of just getting ready and now focusing. We can see the turning point is just approaching, and I think they're now focusing on hitting the transition point and just starting to think ahead now. They've been in the water for probably somewhere around 45 minutes. So really, really strong swimming here. Just to remember here, the X-Tri World Championship field, it's a small field. The swimmers who are in there, they have qualified from other races in the World X-Tri Tour. So these guys have all done this stuff before, and they're really experienced in these type of races. So we can see that the athletes have just went round the last turning buoy, and we can see the fire in the distance, which is the sighting fire. And they're now starting to approach Eidfjord. We've now turned to the lead swimmer, who's now exiting the water. That's Mark Threfeld. Mark, ex-professional triathlete. Now, interestingly, Mark has never actually raced a long-distance triathlon race before. This is his first time. I caught up and spoke with Mark during the week, and he was telling me how he's really excited about this race. He has finished very high. He's actually a champion ITU racer and 70.3 racer. So Mark is really excited about racing Norseman today. He's racing with GTN, which is the Global Triathlon Network. So we can see Mark getting on his bike here. Obviously it's mandatory in Norseman to wear a reflective bib for safety, and Mark's also got lights on his bike, which is also mandated as a safety feature. So we can see Mark moving away there now, just smoothly moving away now, just getting himself all set up, getting comfortable on his bike. It's going to be a long day ahead on the bike for these athletes. Mark is very experienced, he knows what he's doing here. Finding himself moving safely out of Eidfjord onto the road. Ready for the approach up to Durunut, which is a long cycle uphill. Just moving out through the village.
Eidfjord is a village located on the shore of an inner branch of the large Hardangerfjorden. It is a quiet place, home to some 549 people. It is a popular destination for people enjoying outdoor activities such as hiking, fishing, hunting, backpacking, and of course, recreational sports. But every year, in the beginning of August, the tranquility takes a break. Eidfjord gets invaded by hundreds of athletes from all around the world, with minds and bodies trained to their absolute best versions. The village is the starting point for the cycling leg of the ultimate triathlon on the planet, the Norseman. Therefore, this little village in the middle of the Norwegian fjords and mountains has since the beginning of the millennium turned into the epicenter of the extreme triathlon movement now spreading across the world. I'd rather be swimming in Eidfjord.